On the evening of February 1st, 2009, a 32-year-old man named Luo Jinfa waiting for his landlord to finish lecturing him about being late on his rent. Luo saw his opportunity and he said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but do you know if anyone's been murdered inside of my apartment?" After Luo asked the question, the landlord just stared at Luo and said, "You know what? I know what's wrong with you, but I'll be back in a month and you better have your rent," without answering Luo's question. Luo kind of hesitantly turned back around and went back inside his apartment and shut the door. And immediately, he just felt terrified. 1 month later, on March 2nd, 2009, a day after the rent was due, Luo's landlord had still not received rent from Luo and knocked on the door. Eventually, when Luo didn't come to the door, the landlord just used his own key, but when he stepped in there, even the landlord was shocked at what he saw. I mean, the apartment was in total disarray. But the thing that really creeped the landlord out the second he walked in there was that all over the walls were these yellow and red pieces of paper with prayers written on them that had been stabbed into the wall with individual knives. And so after that, the landlord just left the apartment. He locked the apartment. He went and got a new lock at the hardware store. And the landlord's brother approached the landlord and said, "Hey, can I rent out that apartment? No one's using it." And the landlord said that was fine, but the brother would have to clean up the apartment. And they drove to a nearby recycling facility where they sold whatever they could and then dumped the rest. And then they left. However, when the workers at the recycling facility began processing some of the junk that had been left behind, they made a discovery that immediately made them stop and contact the police. It would turn out Luo had not actually abandoned his apartment. In fact, he had never left his apartment. So Luo had become totally convinced that his apartment was haunted by a ghost. At night, he would hear walking around above him, even though he knew nobody actually occupied the apartment right above him. And Luo discovered there was actually one place he could go in his apartment that would sort of protect him from whatever was happening inside of there. His bedroom was that big freezer the landlord found sitting in the middle of his living room. Luo had been climbing in there and shutting it to protect himself from this entity at night. But he would always prop the lid open just enough so that air could come in and out of there. However, shortly after Luo's conversation with his landlord about being late on rent, Luo had gone back inside his apartment, gotten really drunk, climbed inside of his bedroom, shut the lid, and forgot to prop it open. And so as he lay there, he slowly suffocated to death. They brought that freezer along with everything else to the recycling facility where the workers there would open up the freezer and they would find Luo.